I'm back again to share with you information that I have and have received from masters, what we call masters such as Jesus and other masters. And this is information that I have about swine flu. And I'm here to kind of help do my share to prevent this thing from becoming a pandemic situation, because it doesn't need to be, and we need to have understanding of it. And what I've got laid out here is the Earth from the year 2000 to 2012, which is supposed to be a crisis time in history. And I've got it set at the year 2000 because in 2000 we changed in energy through evolution from the third dimension to the fourth dimension. Now that was hardly noticed by anyone unless you were working in the areas in which I work with mystics. You might not know that, and science hasn't quite caught up with it yet. But we have been in the fourth dimensional energies in the universe, flying around in the universe, reaching this point here in the year 2000. And then from 2000 on, we began going into the energies of the fourth dimension, which are a different energy than the third dimension, naturally. And it's as we see this time transpiring and we come to the 2009, we have been going through that energy for this long. And that energy has a lot to do with what's happening around the world about this idea of swine flu. As the Earth evolves and goes through this time period, that energy builds and it affects the human body. Because it is evolution, we are in an evolutionary stage. The human body is changing. It's changing into what we would call the fourth dimensional being. And so what does that have to do with swine flu? Everything. Because during this period of time, starting here in the year 2000, the human body began to change physically, and the way it started changing was with the cells. Because the fourth dimensional cell is different than the third dimensional cell. And it takes the human being time to go through and make its change into becoming a fourth dimensional being with fourth dimensional cells. While that's taking place, from here to there at that time, the body has been undergoing a situation where the cells, when they split and come in, the third dimensional cells have been sort of sloughing off, call it a sloughing off or a sloughing off of a particular part of the cell, kind of part of this, what you might call a part of the skin of the cell, and it's sloughing that off into the system in the body as it changes into the fourth dimensional cells. That energy that's been working on the cells has been steadily increasing in breaking this cell structure down and free so that it can be a fourth dimensional cell. What happens with that material as the cell sheds, you might say, some of its third dimensional material aspect, it begins to start feeding the waste into the body in the natural process. And that natural process would be into the bloodstream and into the different parts of the body, which is the ways to remove things from the body, such as urinating. And so that's been going on. However, because we've been going rapidly in time, in these last 9 years, we have got you might say, an extra amount of those kind of cells floating around in the body. Only they really don't float. What they do is sort of collect in different parts of the body, and particularly around the stomach, the lung area, and the chest cavity. and also in the head, in the brain. And what we find ourselves doing because of that, naturally, is having little coughs and surges where we spit out phlegm, and we act like we might have a cold. And if you're examined by a doctor, he would unknowingly, if he does the research, do the standard research on your cells and find out, oh, that you have some cells in your body that don't belong there, cell refuse in the body that doesn't belong there, so you must be getting something of an illness. And this is the way the doctors are taking it, because they don't know any different. And science hasn't caught up with that, so science hasn't been able to determine what that is. So what happens with those wasted parts of the cells is they're slowly being brought into the you might say the whole world as some kind of flu bug. And so they're called, and for the most part, they're dumped into what is referred to as the swine flu category, and it's labeled as another kind of swine flu. But it is not flu. It is just waste that the body's trying to release. What does happen to the body is that you find yourself coughing, spitting more than you should do. After a little bit, a while, the body weakens, gets weaker, and the cells can't flush out of the body as they normally would, and so you may go through what would appear to be kind of like a flu cough, and a spitting out cough, and a spitting of waste. And by that time, if you've been going to a hospital or a doctor, he has you labeled, without realizing it, with some kind of flu. Now that's been going on all this time, and then exactly right here at this time, when we get to 2009, we all of a sudden have a situation that happens in Mexico, which kind of throws a spark into the whole process that's going on.